Hi, gun people. Going to talk about they didn't hear me say horsey people. I was going to see if they were going to react. Going to talk about a little stats here on the news, which I kind of find interesting because yeah, I guess I'm in there. They have an article on here about the deadliest year for law enforcement, and again, I kind of hope that people will, and I think most of my viewers get it, but I know no people may not understand that. I really, when I try to explain something about law enforcement or government or things that I've learned dealing with this for my entire life, I want you to get in a process of critical thinking and questioning things and not just believing the snippets that you're told and thinking that's fact or truth. Now, liberals live in that land that a headline is the truth. I don't need to read the story. I don't need to know the background. I don't need to know facts. I just got to know what that headline is that fits my agenda. So a critical thinker, understanding how to question things and ask, why am I getting this information yet I'm not getting these others? Come up with questions when you read an article that aren't answered instead of just focusing on the answers that they want to tell you. So there's always more to it. So in this article here, for the deadliest year, let's see here. It says snipers open fire on Dallas. Let's see. Fatalities the highest in 5 years with 135 officers killed in the line of duty for the year in reported national law enforcement. Okay, so they're saying that this is the highest year for murdered police officers. Okay, great. What they didn't say is why, who's killing, the reason for the number of killings. Are there more officers working? I mean, one of the stats back here was back in the 70s. Now, and again, in the 70s, you have to remember the numbers were higher. Let's see, shooting number one cause of death, claiming 64 lives with shooting. Now this is promoting the gun agenda. So we're only focusing on shooting, making guns the bad guy, officers killed by guns. So their focus is to get you directed to only look at guns are the problem. They don't get you to look at the other problems. Or to think that, hey, maybe it's not just the guns. Maybe it's not what they're telling us in this article. Let's see, guns killed, claimed 64, including 8 gunned down and 2 ambush attacks in Dallas and Baton Rouge. Well, what they didn't tell you about the 2 places where the most people were gunned down were run by liberals, run by Democrats, high minority black population, high black crime, high welfare for minorities, both sanctuary cities for illegals. So they don't give you all that. The only thing they say in here is, oh man, 64 people were killed, and the 2 that claimed the most was Baton Rouge and Dallas. So always question, why is this happening there, and why are they only giving us minimum information? Stats are one of those things, if you've ever taken a college class in stats, you can make stats say whatever you want by changing the terms, the graph. I can show you one graph, it'll look like this. I can show you the same stats with a different graph measuring something else, and it'll look totally opposite. So stats are very easy, can be manipulated very easily. And of course, agenda from the liberal left media can also be manipulated. Firearms-related death. Again, we're talking about shootings, guns, firearms. We're repeating the mantra to get you in your mind, oh, guns are the problem. We need more gun control. If we have more gun control, if only the government had guns, we would be safe. I mean, liberals will fall into that because they can't think, and common sense, you know, is superpower and is unauthorized in liberal land. So, firearms death related 55%, over 41 officers killed by gunfire in 2015. But it's still far below the high of 156 officers killed in 1973. So what changed between 1973, where it was really high, to now it's the highest year ever with 41? So why is that different? Well, a lot of things are different. One is back in the 70s, bulletproof vests weren't as good. Not as many could afford it. Not as many officers had it. Agencies weren't providing it. They weren't buying it for all the officers. We had less police officers. They don't say The police force has probably doubled, if not tripled, since 1973. I mean, so we have 3 times as many officers out there doing 3 times as many things, getting shot less than in 1973. Well, why is that? Well, it ain't got nothing to do with guns. It has to do with mentality in cities and where they happen. Where's all the killings happening? Since the peak, hitting 280 officers, total deaths in the early 70s, law enforcement fatalities have been in a general decline. But the total number of officers killed this year is the highest since 2011. Again, we're saying it's the highest, and then we're going back 4 or 5 years, or we're going back to the 70s. So it's not the highest. I mean, it's the highest if you say since 2011, which is later on a thing, but if you're just reading this saying, wow, man, we got the highest death rates of law enforcement officers, that's amazing. It's not the highest. They're saying it's the highest, but then they're qualifying it with, well, since 2011 it's the highest. Or since the 70s, it's nowhere near as high as the 70s, but since 2011 it's the highest. It doesn't read like that so you can easily figure it out. It kind of hides it a little bit. My horses are coming over here going, dude, what are you talking about? I'm not talking about horses. Go play. Let's see what else it said. Public safety is a partnership. All right, here comes the brainwashing, the minutia that's trying to tell you that, you know, we got to love government, support government. If we only had more law enforcement, they're the good guys. They're not out there revenue generators writing tickets to every damn body that's driving because they ain't got nothing else to do, so they got to justify their job so they can hire more officers next year and then complain that we had more officers shot because now instead of having 3 times as many officers since the 70s, we now have 4 times as many. And in 10 years, we'll have 20 times as many. And then people will be saying, well, man, back in the 70s, when we had 1/5 or 1/8 of what we have now, shit, we were safer. The crime was less. All right, so let's see. Public safety is a partnership. It's a service of sacrifice of our law enforcement professionals that is just taken for granted. Really? Give me a freaking break. Okay? You're out there harassing the good people half the time. If you focused on a crime and a criminal element, we wouldn't have so much crime. We wouldn't need so many damn officers. But that won't fit your big retirement, your big unions, and it won't fit the growth of government so we can raise taxes and you get better benefits and more pensions. So, you know, I don't have a whole bunch of sympathy for this. But it's just amazing when you read articles on stats. Let me ask you some stats that you'll never see. And I'll tell you why you'll never see it. Because nobody wants to ask it, nobody wants to report it. How many cops were killed by black compared to white? How many cops that were killed were white compared to black officers? How much crime is committed by black per percentage and white per percentage and Mexicans per percentage and illegals per percent? You'll never get those percentages. Why not, Rick? Because it doesn't fit the agenda that we need. Open borders and guns are the problem and more government will fix this. If you had, you know, you can only make a decision on the information you have. And, you know, it's like computers. Junk in is junk out. And statistics the same way. If I put junk statistics in, I'm going to get junk statistics out that I'm going to give you. If I put in fake information about global warming and then scare everybody and make millions of dollars on global warming, then it's all junk because I've only put in lies and I've doctored the stats and I've doctored the history and all the records. So, junk in and junk out. Well, as consumers, as citizens, we consistently get junk from our government. We're lied to. We're withheld information. We get junk from our media. They want to push their liberal left agenda. They want to support their politician or their side of the party. So we consistently get junk in, and then we wonder when juries are letting people go, going, how can that jury let this guy go? Because the juries don't get the whole information either. They're getting junk from the prosecutor. They're getting junk from the defense. And now they got to filter through all the junk, and we get junk out when we get bad verdicts from a jury. So when I'm reading this article, I'm just looking at it, I'm like, man, they're making it seem like this is so bad, all these cops getting killed. They don't go into any of the information that somebody that's critical thinking like, well, why and how many cops do we have them, and why can't we get the stats on how much, we know that we spend so much money in social programs, but we don't know how much goes to the sanctuary cities, how much goes to illegals, how much goes to minorities, how much goes to, we don't know any of that. You know why? Because those stats would skew the liberal agenda that they're trying to push on us. So I hope somebody, even some liberals, might fly by here and go, holy shit, and have a couple brain sparks, go, wow, I should maybe ask questions instead of just believing what the newspaper, the liberal left, puts out because they're getting junk from the government saying, hey, here's what we got, here's the officers that are killed, here's this, here's that. FBI has all these stats. Every time somebody's arrested, we know their race, we know their age, we know where they're from, we know where they live, we know where their address. It's very easy, a computer code, punch a few things, and we would have all the stats, all of our answers would be there. Because we have the information collected. It's not that we can't get it or we have to do something extra to get it. It's that they don't want to give it to us. Why don't they want to give it to us? Because they don't want an informed public knowing that we have too many cops not doing their jobs. These sanctuary cities, minorities, illegals are out there committing majority of the shit, and we're being sold a bill of goods from the liberal left that, oh no, it's the mean white man. Everybody's a racist. Every time they arrest a black man, it's because of racism. It has nothing to do with the crime and the stats and the prisons on how many people are minority and what the percentage of it. I mean, if the liberals run the world, we'd have midget females playing in the professional basketball league. And it'd be like, well, we got to have a midget and we got to have a female. And, it'd be like, nobody wants to watch the game anymore. Why not? Because the liberals have dumbed it down and made it to where we got to have midget females playing basketball. And it just screws up the game. And that's what they're doing to the whole damn country with these stupid rules they get on what bathroom and how many genders we got. And oh, anyway. All right, so we'll end that there. Hopefully that article, I'll put a link to the article. Good old Texas flag flying.